Well, hello everyone, and guess who's actually here? The one and only Karen McDermott. Now, guess what? She's actually coming to you as an author in this particular case, and it's to do with something that she actually works toward, which is living limitlessly. So in this book, Karen has actually shared her story. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you so much, Cathy, and thank you for allowing me to wear my author hat today.
It's interesting. I think sometimes, you started off with this passion of creativity in writing a book, which then led you to your path of where you are now, but coming back sometimes to write in that creative space. What's that like for you?
I love it because I just have this ability of jumping from one to the other. So, like if I'm writing, whether it be fictional novels or nonfiction, I love to start my day off doing that whenever that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it seems to just work for me. I think I just found my own flow. And so I ain't, if it's working, I'm going to change it. But I love to share because we all perceive the world in our own ways and we all have our own things and ambitions. I know I'm very ambitious, but I'm also very values aligned. I love being a mom, so I love doing all of that stuff. So, but I think that whenever we show up and share what we learn along the way with others as they're on their way, then we make a difference in each other's lives. And I'm a great believer that we don't learn things just to hold them close to our chest, supposed to share them. And so that's what I do. And I do that a lot through writing, but also by just, I suppose, inspired leadership is by doing and showing how it's done, being innovative.
Yeah. You actually share two things that I'm very passionate about too. You use the word showing, which is what I actually talk about quite a lot. And also, in respect to sharing that knowledge is only really of any value when it's shared, right? There's no point in holding it within.
Absolutely. And I'm all about the universal laws, Cathy, as well. And, the art of reciprocity, you may give without the expectation of receiving, but the odds are you will always receive back from a different source, but it all balances out. So if you are a good person, then you will be rewarded. And so, the right intentions and things.
Yeah, absolutely. So you actually called your chapter something, which I think is very, very relevant. And again, something that's really true to my heart. I use a slightly different terminology. What did you call your chapter? Do you remember?
I'm going to try and pull it up here to remember. Just enlighten me. Was it Limitless Beliefs?
Awaken your potential.
Oh, see, yes, awaken your potential. Well, it is because it's all about awakening, Cathy, because I had a conversation with the wonderful Ron Malhotra this morning because I was doing an interview for his book, Indoctrinate, and he said it and he confirmed, because I always talk about it, because once you see, you can't unsee.
Yes!
So once you awaken to your potential, you can't go back. There's no going back from that point because you see things in a different light. And that's where beliefs come from. You start to believe in yourself. You start to have faith in what can happen. And it just lights me up and it gets me very excited when I start to think about it. So yes, awaken your potential. That's what we're all about.
Well, and in many ways, this particular book actually is all about that. That ability to think limitlessly is about awakening your potential, and then adding to what you were saying earlier, bringing others on that journey with you.
Yes.
And that's the gift of a book, right? People can go back and reread it and pick up on something that, I didn't see that, earlier.
And what you do is you act on what resonates with you in a book, because there is that common thread in all of these stories, Cathy, is that, we all tap into that because of the theme of the book, which is amazing because it's, complementary, that's those threads throughout. But one of the amazing things that is when we read a book, not only do we have the reader's full attention, we also, they're going to read something that resonates at that moment that
Yeah.
they can take action from. You're not supposed to take everything on board. You can get overwhelmed with that. But when you read something and it ignites something within you, listen to that. It's igniting in you for a reason. You're to action that. And wait till you see what happens when you action that. Like, it's the most special, it's magic. That's what I call it. That's the magic of life.
Yeah. Well, you also actually start, part of your chapter, you actually title it No Excuses. And that's the truth, right? You have
Well, I have a no excuse policy, Cathy.
Yeah.
If I can do it, as a mom of 6 and but ambitious and have dreams that I fulfill, if I can do it, anybody can. It's just learning how to have that blend for you. If your life doesn't accommodate a 9 to 5, then don't do a 9 to 5. Do things when, find a job that brings you joy, because motherhood, as much as it's rewarding, it can also be challenging. So if you're going to go and do work, please allow it to fill your cup at least, not burn you out even more. These things are important conversations that have to be had. And I've tested the water with them, my own self personally. I've learned the universal laws. I love learning things, and books have been a big part of that. And seeing, you see someone who's been successful, learning from them, because there's something that you can learn from everyone that you connect with.
Absolutely. And, you also actually lead into the alignment of values, which you touch in about, filling your cup. That's one way, to align your values. So tell us a bit about that within your chapter. What do you actually share, in respect to alignment?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. When you align with your values, you don't compromise any of yourself for success. So then I see so many people setting goals and being very focused on each step towards the goal. I set intentions and go on the journey to make them happen, because then, and it's something, and it's also an intention that's aligned with my values, that whenever I achieve it, I feel fulfilled. I feel like happy dancing. I do a happy Irish dance. And it lights me up. But not only does it light me up and fill me up, it allows me to pour into others. Whereas I see others who get to their destination of the goal, and they have given it all and they don't have anything left when they get there. Whereas I'm blessed that I have accommodated, I've took time out, I understand the power of the pause, all of those things. And I have a beautiful rhythm in my life, because I found that. I allowed myself to find this beautiful rhythm that works for me. And it's like I danced my way through it. You know what I mean? And it's not that I don't have down times. I do, absolutely. But I honor those down times, and I pause and I stop. And I allow myself to recalibrate, and I see things more clearly then, because I don't put that energy into my work. It's not aligned with my values. So then, and it won't take you any longer to get to the destination. It really won't, because when you're showing up and doing something in your genius, that is when it just flows and it happens really fast. So that's the most efficient way to do it, and the most
Do you know, your happy dance, those steps that you actually take is another thing that you actually talk about. You go through a process step by step. And I think sometimes that's what people forget. It's actually, you don't have to know everything all the way through. You need to know where you're going to go, but you take each step at a time, and that allows you to pause and reflect as well. So tell us a little bit about that too, Karen.
Yeah, it's like, I always talk about the analogy of whenever you're driving a car in the fog, you're still going to get to the destination, but you can't see the full, you won't see around corners, and it's okay, but you still have trust and faith that you're moving towards the destination. So it's not that I love driving through fog, but should I need to, I can, and I can still get to where I need to go. But we all have other senses, so when we allow ourselves to be more aware of things around us, because the things that have propelled me forward have not been things I thought would happen, or not been things that were or at my disposal when I set the intention. There are things that came from my peripheral, that came in from the side. So I needed to be aware and have the space in my life to allow that to happen. And I talk about the declutter, about how that's a very important part of my rhythm of life, that I stop and declutter. Because as we go through our life, we take on board things, and it's not just a physical declutter, because that can be beneficial as well, but it's also, not that we want to declutter people out, but it's just that there's some people are there to serve us in a season, not for a lifetime. And if you hold on to things, you're going to feel weighed down. Let things go with love, because you can do everything with loving energy. You don't have to be mean or horrible. It doesn't have to be bad, but not because I talk about the hell yes and the hell no. When I say hell yes to something, I mean it. My heart's in it, and I'm going to give it my all. But if I say yes to something my heart is the hell no to, I'm doing it a service to not only myself, but to that person, because my heart won't be in it. So they're not going to get the best of me. So it's all of that type of mentality, to understand that just bring the best of you forward, keep moving forward with that. And then you're able to keep your cup full and serve the best way through that.
You raise a really valid point. And again, it's something that, I actually share with you, in that you need to let things go so that you can actually bring more of what's going to bring you joy and what's actually going to serve, for the impact that you want to make, because it's not usually about yourself. It's usually about that bigger picture. And so you've got to do that, and very true. Some people are actually there for a season, and that's okay. But some people will actually stick for life. And then you just keep going. Life is about that ever journey, that you're actually on. So that magic that you actually talk about, you also actually say magic happens outside of your comfort zone. Now, that's another quote, that I use. So it's interesting how when you vibrate, at what I call the hum space, other people are actually humming along with you.
Yes. It's a beautiful song, isn't it? And that's what I talk about. We talk about magic happens just outside of your comfort zone. You don't need to take a big run and jump outside of your comfort zone. You just need to take a step outside. And in that step is enough for something new to happen, and newness to come in, or even something that you may not have seen before. You're just getting a new angle at it. And because I talk about, whenever, if your life's so full, nothing can shine into it. It's a ball, it's solid. But when you start to take things out of it, you create some space, and then so the light can shine in, all the good stuff. And we've got to really honor who we are and get to know who we are, not what's expected of us. As humans, we expect enough of ourselves. We don't need to bed that down with expectations of others, or for us to have expectations of others. I'm a great believer in, people do things because they want to. That's the best way, and that desire to do something for somebody else, but also for yourself as well. That's when you get the best results, and not because you feel you have to,
Well, I often reference the term, choose. It's who you choose to be, and that actually comes back to belief in yourself. And you talk about that in your chapter as well. We all go through different learnings, and we do actually play the game of chase. But when you pause and actually look inward and actually believe in who you are, that's where the magic happens. So tell us a bit about, that, because that's in the chapter too.
Well, I talk about believing, and belief. Sometimes if we don't believe in ourselves, it's okay for us to lean on others to take on their belief in us. And that's what happened to me when I started to write and to do books. I had a beautiful friend named Donna. We had become friends, and she was actually writing a story, not to publish it, but just to process her life and what happened in her early childhood. So she had written 50,000 words. And for me, 50,000 words blew my mind. I was like, that's so many words, But when you broke it down into a daily writing, or even just a daily practice, it was just you know, the momentum that she had built, you know, and just being consistent in that. And that was the key to the success of the 50,000 words. And little did I know that that belief that it was possible would be the fuel I needed, that when the opportunity came to me to write my first novel in 30 days, a challenge that piqued my interest, which was 12 years ago, exactly today it started.
Really?
Yes, I started writing The Visitor 12 years ago, exactly today.
Wow.
And I wrote 1,667 words a day for 30 days, and I had a 50,000 word novel. Now, it was by any means a first draft, but it was still out and all the gold was out, and it didn't stop and I didn't overthink. It was just a thing that had, you know, the way they say there's always a book in everyone.
Yeah.
I didn't know where this came from, but it came out. But if it hadn't have been for my awareness and openness and the belief that I was gifted from that person just by just sharing, you know, and then she would read my work and go, oh my, you know, she would have so much belief in it and the message I was sharing. So I was gifted her beliefs. Then I started believing in myself. So it gifted me a light that grew. And so then I could then lean on my own belief, you know, and build my own belief systems within me, because I believed in everybody else. And then, so then I started to then have results through the belief. And it was a beautiful belief because it was gifted through kindness, you know. So it was just, it was like a snowball that just started rolling, and then that was it. I loved it.
Well, in many ways, you also let go of the control, which is another thing that you actually talk about.
Yeah, we relinquished
who everybody else sees you as.
Yeah, that's so important, because we can't be somebody else's version of us. We need to go within, get to know what makes our heart sing, and just do more of that, you know, and then that fills you up and helps you serve others, because then you're able to live at a higher vibration, and then you don't sweat the small stuff. And when crap happens, because let's face it, life happens to everyone, and you don't fall below the line. You're living at a higher vibration, so you're able to stop, pause, recalibrate. You know, I do it all the time, but it's when you're able to show up, you can show up the best version of yourself, because it's never too far away. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think you also actually share a few tips, Karen. What tip really resonates for you to share with somebody who's going to be listening to this, but also reading your chapter?
I'm going to have to find my tips. Cathy, do you want to read some out there? Have you got them?
Yes. So, you know, you actually say, believe that there are no limits on what you can achieve, and your results will be more than you can imagine.
Yes. Don't put a cap on it. There's, you know, that's what you're talking about in this book. This is why you published this book. You called us all in, was because limitless beliefs. Don't put a cap on it. Don't stop. You know, start where you're at and set an intention, but don't let that just stop there. It can be so much more if you go on the journey to it.
I have this saying where people actually think that they're really achieving this maximum. You know, they're usually playing at about 80%, and then where people actually push that little bit further, I go, well, you're now at 95%. They go, that's not possible. Like, you know, even this I can't do. And I go, you need to play bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, we can always go a step further, but once it's aligned with our values, let's not push ourselves past our values, because that's where when we align our ambitions with our values, that's where the magic is. We don't compromise ourselves. I love it. That should have been one of my tips, shouldn't it, Cathy? I found my tips here so I can read them. The other one was see the unseen opportunities by opening your mind to peripheral thinking. And that's what I'm talking about, is these opportunities that are so aligned with what we want to achieve. Many people don't see them because they've got tunnel vision and they're so laser focused on, you know, on controlling how they receive something, that when you need to be more open and aware that this, if it piques your interest, connect in with your knowing, it piques your interest, think, is this aligned with where I'm going? If it's a hell yes, have the courage to say yes, and you know, move forward with it. And that's all part of the process, and a very important part of the process as well. Take time to get clear on what it is you want to achieve. Now that is the ultimate. So many people don't take the time to have clarity about what it is that they want. And if you don't know what you want, how can you receive it? Because when you put the vibration out into the universe of what you want, how can it send you what you want if it's not clear, if you're not clear about it? It's so vitally important that you take time to even be really clear about the essence of what you want. If you can't just put your finger on it, know the essence of where you want to go, and you can start working towards that.
Well, that's actually the syndrome of chasing that shiny little ball. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a good idea. But it doesn't actually bring you that clarity, does it?
No. And where you are at now is a part of the process, and you've got to enjoy the journey. Enjoy the process when you're on it, enjoy it, because otherwise you'll be highly disappointed when you get to the destination, because it will just feel like the next step again, because that's what we're supposed to do on the journey, is grow and evolve through it. And this is my favorite one here, Cathy. It's love life and it will love you back.
Your TED Talk.
That was my TED Talk. If you love it, if you love what you're doing, it will reward you, it will love you back. It's the most beautiful and simple. As humans, we make life so much more complicated than it needs to be. Capture the essence of that, write it on your fridge, love life and it will love you back. And see how that changes, that thought, that affirmation changes your life. It really will.
Absolutely. And I think that the last one, in so many ways, is that shiny ball syndrome.
Yes. Yes. And that's it. Run your own race, stay in your own lane and set your own goals. You can get inspired by others, but make it your own. You can, I always say, too many people lean outside for the answer and inside to make it happen. You actually lean inside for the answers. Don't give that power to anybody else. And then you lean outside for the support to make it happen. Like you can hire people, or you can do, that's the thing. Just try and stay in your genius as much as you can. Get to know what your genius is and stay in as much as possible.
Oh, I remember actually when I first started, the entrepreneurial route, it was, no, I'm going to play in my place of genius. I know how to do things, but it's not what brings me joy. So I actually bring that in. That's a skill set I bring in.
Delegate. The magic word at the beginning. If you're starting a business at the beginning, you're doing so much, and but then as you grow, get to stay in your genius more, and then you can delegate to build up your team, those people around you to support. Absolutely. And the ones you trust. It's truly amazing.
Well, Karen, if there's one more thing that you would like to say to anybody who's listening to this or is reading your chapter, what would you like to share? And you can see how gorgeous this is. Like, this honestly is about that ripple effect, this book. It is like, I love everything about it. It really is rippling out this incredible energy into the world, so what would you like to share? One more thing.
There's so much. Just really and truly start where you're at now. Get to know what it is you want to achieve and start working towards it. There's never a day where you'll go backwards when you realize your potential and start working towards it. You can do and be anything you want in this life. Just make sure that it is what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Karen, for actually sharing your knowledge, sharing a little bit of your book, and actually being part of this journey with us.
My absolute joy and pleasure, Cathy Dimarchos, as always. Bye, everyone.
See you. Oops.